today. So thank you, Chris. Thank you, Katie, for the alignment. So we are still talking about purpose. We're finishing up May, and it's Purpose Month. And last week, how many of you were here last week? A number of you, right? Last week we talked about purpose as aligning ourselves with who we are, with the divine. And that is who we are. We are all unique expressions of God. So purpose isn't necessarily something that we find out there, but we can look out there to align ourselves with our unique talents and our gifts and find our purpose. Sometimes we forget who we are. And I think that's one of the reasons we come here every Sunday, right? To be reminded who we are. I mean, myself too. Right? We have to move beyond all the fear and the doubt. We have to make sure that, we are remembering who we are. Today we're going to look at purpose in a slightly different way. Again, we're going to look at how we can use where we are in this physical world. We are humans having a divine experience. And, sometimes we think, wow, it's too late. I'm too old. I can't figure out what I should be doing with my life. And, today we're going to ask, why not me? Why not take the next step? As Chris just saying, get up, right? Get up off the floor. It's not too late. We can forget about today. We can forget about yesterday. Tomorrow's another day. So why not expect the good? Why not is our anthem today. Why not? So our affirmation is, why not me? Why not you? Why not let our dreams come true? So let's say that together. Why not me? Why not you? Why not let our dreams come true? And if you're watching online, which I know a lot of you are, you can type that in the comments and share that with everyone. So here's the truth about purpose, is what you seek is seeking you. It is seeking you. Just like Chris started singing on this stage, he was seeking a way to express his gifts of music. Just like Anna, I know she's here somewhere, did some gardening outside. Just like each and every one of you has your own gifts, this is an opportunity to share them because we need you. We're seeking you. One of the things I was watching on the news the other day, actually, no, it wasn't the news. It was a Facebook post about this little girl. She was about 3 years old. And I think it was in the Philippines. Somebody was playing piano, and this little girl came running over, and she wanted to sing. 3 years old, about this big. So they give her a mic, and the guy was playing Let It Go. She took the mic like she owned the stage. And what came out of her mouth at 3 was amazing. It was amazing. I watched this like 3 times through. And I don't think it was staged, but they had cameras taking in the responses of the people watching. And everybody was like, oh my God, this little girl, 3 years old. She had a gift. And her gift was seeking expression, because as soon as she saw the guy playing piano, she ran up to him and said, I want to sing. And it's funny, because it reminded me of my own daughter, who, when we used to go to our spiritual center in California, after church, we'd go across the street to this pizza place, and there was always a musician playing. And this woman, Shawn Wiggins, was playing at the time, incredible musician. And my daughter was about 5 at the time. She ran up and asked her, can I sing? And she just took the mic as well, and she just started singing. I don't know what she was singing. It wasn't necessarily a song. It was just whatever was coming through her. And the entire audience was like in awe. And because what she was seeking her. So as we talked about last week, right, we all have gifts. And, we look at the vibrational match of our gifts. So I was pulling some resources, as I always do from my talks, and I found a book I bought like 30-something years ago called Finding Your Perfect Work. And I pulled it out because, maybe there's something in there. And lo and behold, there's a lot of good stuff in there. Practical spirituality is around us everywhere. So this is about harvesting a gift. And he talks about, right, self-employed people as an example. Take advantage of a special talent or skill that others value and are willing to pay for. Right? Other people value your gifts and they're willing to pay for it. And it's, when you don't necessarily recognize your gifts, others will. The other thing, too, is that we look at when we're trying to figure out what our purpose is and what we should be doing in the world, a lot of times we're like, there's a gap between what exists and what we need. Think about all the inventions and gadgets that exist because someone thought, oh, I want to build a better mousetrap. Say that 3 times fast. Build a better mousetrap. There's a woman that I met in a program I just finished over at the CIE called Thrive Lab. And she created, it's right now in the process of getting a patent, a cake server that is like a 3-part so that you can put when you're trying to cut a piece of cake, you know how it flops over and it becomes a mess? So she's created a cake server so that anyone can serve a piece of cake in it. The cake not only doesn't get all messed up, but I know Douglas is looking over like, I want that. Right, the piece of cake that you serve stays up on your plate and it doesn't become a mess. And then I pulled out a drawer at home with all these different wine openers. There's 1,000,001 different ways to open a bottle of wine because someone said there's a better way or I have a better idea. So when you think about your own ideas about why can I not say that? Build a better mousetrap. Someone dared to ask, why not me? Why not me? And even if you're not an inventor, I'm not an inventor, but I'm sure I could come up with something. But we also have talents and gifts to serve other people. Right? That could be our purpose, whether you're a counselor, whether you're a mentor, whether you're an educator, whether you're a minister, whether you're a speaker. Right? A talent is a gift that you're born with, but a skill is a talent that you give yourself. Right? Think about that. We all have gifts. We think, oh, she has a natural born talent. Yes, it might be true. The girl that can sing, the kid that can play the piano has a natural born talent. But we all have gifts that we can develop. So if there's something you're interested in, you go to school for it, or you learn how to be better at it, so we can improve that. So each and every one of us has something within us, that there's a vibrational match out there for it. Right? Now, another important thing about purpose, it begins when you stop asking for permission. Right? We were already granted permission when we were born. You have been given permission to express your gifts, to live on purpose. Right? We are here for a holy purpose. We were born that way. So why do we need to wait for the outside world to validate us? Now, I will say that degrees, certifications, licenses, things that we do go to school for, we do need them for our profession, but we already possess the gifts within, that we don't need anyone to validate that for ourselves. So here's the thing. What stories have you been telling yourself that you need to seek outside validation for? I need permission from my spouse, from my parent, from my child. We even say, universe, give me a sign, give me a signal. Anyone ever say that? I'm looking for a sign. Why not believe more is possible? Right? Whatever you're looking for, health, wealth, relationships, creative expression, we can give that to ourselves. We don't need permission. I think of like actors as an example, right? I used to do that very briefly, and I would audition for parts. I knew I was good, but I didn't get the part. I went on lots of auditions, did not get the part. And I looked at a lot of people that created their own programs, their own little TikTok videos. Tons of actors, as just one example, write their own scripts, write their own movies, produce them themselves, put it out into the world. Influencers. Influencers didn't exist when I was growing up. What was an influencer? Yeah. Right. But now, in today's world, an influencer really is someone who puts themselves out there. They're not waiting for someone to hire them to be a spokesperson. They're like, no, I'm just going to put myself out there. An actor's not waiting to get hired for a job necessarily. They create their own play. They make their own movie. People that start businesses are not waiting for the world to hire them either. They're like, hey, I have an idea. I'm just going to do it. When I started the Parents Playhouse, my kids were 2. I had read every parenting book on the planet, still was struggling. I didn't have a degree in child education, but I started the Parents Playhouse to do workshops to help other parents. I did not wait for the world to say, hey, somebody needs to do this. I was sitting there struggling with, I don't know what I'm doing. I need help. So I said, all right, I'm going to start doing classes at the Y. And I became a Love and Logic facilitator. So I took the program, learned their way of doing it, and then I started teaching. So every entrepreneur, and I've met a whole bunch in the Thrive Lab, none of them had business backgrounds. Not one. They just had a passion. They had a purpose. They wanted to put their idea into the world. They were not waiting for anybody else to give them permission. So here's another resource that I've shared from before. How many of you are familiar with this one? Why Your Life Sucks? This is Alan Cohen, and I love him. He tells it like it is. You know, when we think about our passion and our purpose, and this whole idea of filling a need, right? I see a gap, I want to fill it. And I thought of that movie, Robots, Disney's movie, remember that from years back? Fill a need, see a need, fill a need. And, you know, when we think, what is our purpose? If we look to the outside world, we can say, well, what's missing? What gifts can I bring? Because it's about expression, it's about contribution. But it's also about enjoying ourselves. If you're doing something that is literally sucking the life out of you, stop it now. Stop it now. I mean, I spent years and years and years in tech sales, and I was completely burnt out. I hated it. I really hated it. It was sucking the life out of me. And when I told my parents that I was quitting my job to move to New York to become an actor, my father had a heart attack. He almost had a heart attack. He was like, well, are you insane? You're going to quit this high-paying job and you're going to move to New York to become an actor? I just finished 6 weeks at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and I said, I have to do this. I was called to do that. And I did. I quit my job and I went to New York. And I spent a lot of years auditioning. I did a few plays here and there, and I was an extra in a couple of movies, but I was having fun, and that was what was most important. So Alan Cohen says, people who have found their true calling report that they are having so much fun, they feel like they should be paying people to let them do it. Yet they are paid well for their services, and rightly so. Their gifts go far beyond the obvious service they perform. They are teaching, by example, authentic self-expression. And that really resonated with me. When we do what we truly love and what we're called to, we are being a role model to others. We're showing people, hey, you can do what you love to do too. Be yourself. Be who you were meant to be. Again, we talked about that last week. All right. I need some water. You guys can just, percolate on that for a moment. It's not as hot as it was last week, but it's still a little warm in here. All right. So I had a butterfly on the cover of my talk today. What the caterpillar calls the end of the world, the master calls the butterfly. Right? So the caterpillar goes through a lot to become the butterfly. I mean, it can feel a bit overwhelming and scary to really live your purpose. Even just to say, hey, I'm a divine expression of God. Other people may look at you and like, who do you think you are? I'm like, so are you. We're all divine expressions of God. But when we recognize that we have to die to the old to become the new, to become our own butterflies, that's a bit scary, isn't it? Like, ooh, I want to just kind of stay in my cocoon because it's safe. But here's the thing about living our purpose. We don't have to wait to become the butterfly before we start living what we want to do and what we're meant to be. I just took a leap of faith and just started, performing and acting and auditioning. Never became a Broadway star, never became a star, period, but I still expressed who I was meant to be. Now, I do believe that every age and stage of our lives has a purpose. Whether we're babies, whether we're toddlers, whether we're, 50-something, 100-something, we're all here to express who we are in that age and in that stage. So the caterpillar doesn't know that one day it's going to be able to fly. You may not know right now what you're going to be 5 years from now, or even tomorrow. Anybody know what you're going to do tomorrow? I know what the women are doing tomorrow. You're coming to spiritual assistance, right? But within the caterpillar itself, there's what's called imaginal cells. Imaginal cells that already have the blueprint for the butterfly. So all the caterpillar needs to do is just align itself with its divine purpose. And one day it stops crawling around and it just creates a cocoon for itself. And within the chrysalis itself, you don't want to know what goes on in that chrysalis. You don't. It's scary. I dove deep into how a caterpillar becomes a butterfly. And it completely breaks down within the chrysalis. So when we're in our own chrysalis, and we've all been in a chrysalis at some point in our lives, you might be in it right now. You might be saying, oh my God, my world is literally falling apart. I don't know who I am anymore. Anybody ever say that? I don't know who is that person in the mirror. And it feels uncomfortable. And it feels uncertain. But here's the thing, the imaginal cells within our bodies already have the divine blueprint. All we need to do is allow ourselves to unfold. And it can feel like a struggle. The butterfly literally has to push and strain its way out of the cocoon, out of the chrysalis, because that forces the blood into the wings so it has the strength to fly. That's why you're never supposed to help a butterfly come out of its cocoon. Let it do its thing. Because again, if it's open too soon, it doesn't have the strength it needs. So sometimes when we're trying to rush to something, like, I just want to finish that. I want to take my 12 years of elementary school and do it in 5. My daughter did it in 10 because she was done. But we try to rush through things because we don't want to struggle. And I'm not saying that we should struggle. I think struggle is actually more of a mental mindset, right? We can go through something and believe it's a struggle, it's so hard. Or we can go through something and say, this is what I need to do to get to the next step. So when you think about the struggle is part of the becoming, for the butterfly. But in our own lives, the struggle, like I think about weightlifting, that's hard. I do struggle, but I'm becoming stronger, right? Say yes, please. Say yes. Right? But we think about how difficult it is to build new habits. And it doesn't take 21 days. That's a fallacy. It takes up to 3 months of consistency to really build a new habit. So can you imagine 3 months? You got to consistently every day do something different to get to the other side of what you want to become. And it can feel like a struggle sometimes. But remember that the struggle is part of the beginning. So whatever your chrysalis is right now, could be relationship challenges, it could be financial challenges, it could be health challenges, or old beliefs just don't fit anymore. I was going through this book that I said I got 30 years ago, and I was looking through the assessments that I took, and I was like, wow, I'm not that person anymore. That was pretty cool, because that meant I shed old beliefs about who I thought I was supposed to be, what I thought I should be doing, to really express who I am today. So when it feels like things could be falling apart, The reality is that perhaps something greater is trying to emerge, right? Just like the chrysalis, the butterfly is trying to emerge, and it needs the time. And unity teaches us that life is always unfolding, that divine process. We are co-creating with Spirit all the time. And when we are seeking something that is seeking us, that's part of the creative process. We're always creating. We're always creating. Even when we feel stuck, we're creating that too. We're creating ideas and beliefs that keep us stuck. So we're very powerful. So if we can do that, we can create other things. So we know the caterpillar could never become a butterfly if it doesn't go into the chrysalis. So we cannot become our own butterflies unless we change. I'm not saying we have to struggle, but we need to do something different to be who we truly want to be. So maybe the question isn't, why is this happening to me? But instead, what is trying to emerge from me? Where am I being called? Who am I becoming? Why not? And fill in the blank. Why not do that thing? Why not just trust the transformation? Because the caterpillar's biggest limitation is the butterfly's greatest freedom. I want to say that again, because I want you to imagine you are the caterpillar. The caterpillar's greatest limitation becomes the butterfly's greatest freedom. So wherever you're feeling limited right now, it just means that something greater wants to emerge. And, the end of one chapter is just the beginning of one that's even better. That's even better. As Dr. Harris loves to say, the best is yet to come. So what is our lesson today? Number one, we just have to trust the process of becoming. Right? As you're going through your own transformation, you are becoming something bigger, something better, something greater, something different. And tomorrow, again, change is constant. And as divine expressions of God with unique gifts, we are called to share them. We are called to express them. And if nothing else, to live is to love. And to love is to live. So in that, another thing I watched that just also opened my heart, a guy has this podcast called Dying Out Loud. And he was, he's got, I don't remember exactly what his ailment is, but he decided to write 74 letters to people in his life, because he was 74 years old and he had a terminal illness. And so one of the things that he talked about is, we are here just to love. It took him 74 years to really recognize, hey, when we know there's nothing left, when tomorrow is not promised, the truth is the only thing that really matters is the people that you love, and to love. So that is our only purpose, and to share our gifts. So let's finish with our affirmation. We'll just say this together. Ready? Why not me? Why not you? Why not make our dreams come true? And so it is. Namaste.